Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of MGR Unplugged. I'm here with David again, and we've been out of the podcast I was on vacation myself for a couple of weeks. And David, I think he was not on vacation, unfortunately. He's been working.
I've been working, but that's okay.
Working through the summer, like he likes it. And anyways, we had the interview with Kayla last time, which I think it went live last week. You guys haven't listened to it. It was Kayla Wilson. She's a very interesting young lady. It's live. You can go back to our pod and then listen to it. But today we're actually discussing a number of topics that we've been, David and I have been talking about offline for a while, and I just decided that it was probably a good time to get together and have a little conversation about it. Mostly tech type topics, but who knows, we may deviate into whatever comes around. So David, first of all, good afternoon. Thanks for joining me again.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you have a lot of information on this. So the first one that we're actually just talking about it this morning was actually Stripe. Apparently they launched their own capital funding system or financial system, which is kind of like a trend. All these companies, you and I were talking about this too, when a company becomes successful, they create their own own bank.
I made that joke that, I mean, I'm not the one who came up with it, but it's almost true that every company, once they get to a certain amount of success, they end up just becoming a bank. And I said that with the Apple Card a few weeks ago.
Right. Apple did it, and obviously we know.
But in this case, Stripe launched, it was just this morning. I follow Patrick Collison, the CEO of Stripe. I follow him on Twitter, and he tweeted out basically nothing. I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say obvious, but it's an idea or another avenue of business that makes a lot of sense for Stripe. Basically what it is, it's a lending platform on Stripe. So if you're a Stripe user, if you have an e-commerce store that uses Stripe, based on your sales data, you can get loans. So they have examples on their site.
So let me jump in for a second before to explain to people, maybe not everybody's familiar with Stripe. So what is Stripe basically?
They're the biggest payment processing. Well, are they the biggest? One of the biggest payment processing companies out there.
So
most like Shopify stores and a lot of those use Stripe.
Right. They have a lot of agreements with different merchants, and obviously in the e-commerce arena, Shopify is one of the biggest ones. They work with them as default unless you decide to use your own processor. But they also work with non-e-commerce, basically with traditional, brick and mortar.
Yeah, they're
retailers.
Expanding more into that now.
Right,
but they started just e-commerce.
So basically, what they do is every time you pay with a credit card, whether it's online or you actually do it at the store, and you swipe your credit card, Stripe actually processes your payment, and the revenue stream comes from the fees that they charge for the processing, which typically is depending on the amount or depending on the agreements that they have with each merchant. It could be anywhere for 2.9% or 3% or something like that.
But they don't get all of that either.
Right, no, understood.
They probably get 1.5%.
Right, they split it with the actual credit cards and all that. So, but that's their business model, and like you said, it's one of the. It's actually pretty new, but it's growing very fast too.
It's, I think, 7-8 years old.
Okay.
I mean, they really exploded over the last 5 years or so.
Right. Definitely for a payment processor system or company is fairly new. So anyways, once we have that explained, so
basically now what they're doing is, and there's other companies, third-party companies that are not payment processors that do this. So basically what Stripe says is, instead of getting a traditional loan where you're like if you get it with a bank or something where you have to pay them back, what they do is, I was looking, they had get a quick quote. And so if you say you want to borrow $15,000, right? And the nice thing is that it's very fast, because the thing that Stripe has the advantage of, that I was thinking about after, that I think is why this makes so much sense for them, is they have data from thousands and thousands of e-commerce stores. And so they can say, okay, this store is doing $20,000 in revenue a month, and they're asking for a $20,000 loan so they can buy inventory or for marketing, whatever. Okay, and they're doing $20,000 a month at an average selling price of $50, and they're growing at 15% month over month. Okay, well, let's look at these other 2,000 stores that we have in our database at this rate of growth. What are the odds that they're going to pay us back, right? They have so much data that they can do so much analyses and understand exactly what the risk profile is of the person asking for the loan and the odds that they're going to get paid back, and based on that, charge an appropriate interest rate. So it's it's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, but basically the loan verification or approval process is fast because the
Basically,
data is already there.
you can
Pretty
get a
much
loan for $20,000.
algorithms probably will do it for them.
You can get a $20,000 loan in 2 minutes, which is just phenomenal compared to most other platforms. But that's the advantage, because there's, I think, a company called Cabbage, and there's other companies that do this, but they're not payment processors, so they don't have all the data. So what Stripe does, instead of you paying them back, like writing them a check or whatever, they just take, for example, I looked at, if you borrow 15 grand, they'll take 9% of your sales revenue until you pay back the loan plus interest. In that case, the interest was 10%. So you pay $16,500, $1,500 in interest on the $15,000, and they take 9% of your revenue until the money's paid back.
Do they have loan terms or anything, or they just do that? I mean, what if the store doesn't make that many sales?
Right, that's
or
part of
anything?
their risk.
Okay.
There wasn't a payback period, which is very interesting. So
Okay.
it's not like you pay back over 2 years or whatever,
Right.
or over a certain amount of months. No, it's just you pay back 10%, and we take 9% of your store's revenue until we're paid back. So it's a bit of a different approach, but because they have so much data, they really can be a bit of a pioneer and really understand exactly the risks, because all the lending industry is risk management. It's saying we know this certain percentage of people are not going to pay us back, so we have to charge a certain amount of interest to compensate for that, plus an extra amount to make a profit. That's the lending industry.
Yeah, the only question I have for that is obviously, they take 10% of your gross sales. So if you sell something for $30, they're going to take $3.
Yeah.
And then obviously the merchant payment, processing fees and all that stuff will take another $1.50. And then you have your own expenses, manufacturing, shipping, whatever. So my thing is, if you are a very low profit margin type business,
well, it's like
they
anything.
will make it almost like not profitable for you if they take a ton or 10% on top of that.
Well, it's like any business. You have to
Right.
account for your cost of goods and account for all your margins. But you're not going to get. I mean, they're basically charging a 10% loan, so you're not going to get much better than that at any bank or anything if you're a small business.
So is that a fixed fee, or they also have
It's fixed.
variable rates depending on the type of business?
As far as what I saw, it's a fixed fee, and
Okay.
it's not a annual percentage. It's nothing. It's just 15
Based on
grand.
sales.
You pay us 1,500 on top of the 15 grand, so you pay 16,500. But I think for Stripe, what I think is great about this is one, obviously it's another revenue channel for Stripe, and it makes a ton of sense for them. So they're going to make even more money now. And two, it makes it a lot easier for small businesses to get basically lending that they need very quickly. Like I said, in 2 minutes, because they're already connected to your store. 20 grand in 2 minutes. It doesn't get much better than that. Try going to a bank.
But you
or
will
something.
need to have a little bit of history for them to give you that. If you're a small business is fine, but you are small and a new business, then you will not be approved. Obviously, they don't have a history.
And I there's just launched this morning, so I didn't look at all of their terms and everything. But the idea is that they're making it much easier to get financing if you're
it's a small business loan for growth or for expanding your business.
The other advantage too that Stripe is adding is that now they're kind of adding to their moat a little bit, because now anybody who if you're a new store, okay, which payment processor should I use? Oh, well, let's use Stripe, because if we need to, then they can give us financing on top of being a payment processor. And obviously they have, out of all the payment processors, they probably have the best support and some of the easiest to use APIs out there compared to most. And so now you add on top of the financing, I just think Stripe is killing the game right now.
And the other moat that you kind of mentioned is also the fact that once you get into this loan program, basically you're hooked on them for a while, because you're not going to switch payment processors or anything when you know that you have a loan with Stripe and you need to pay it back, basically. Right. So I'm sure there's a lot of fine print as far as saying, okay, you cannot switch processors, you cannot do this or that. I mean, you go bankrupt, okay.
If you go out of business, obviously that's like everything.
But they will not allow you to just say, okay, now I'm going to switch and then I don't pay you back, because you're still on the hook. So they kind of guarantee that you're going to be working with them as opposed to going to another vendor or another processor that gives you a 2.8 or 2.7 or just basically playing the rate game,
Yeah, I think it's a great move for Stripe, but I think it's also a great solution for a lot of small businesses.
Yeah, I know PayPal has a similar small business lending program.
They do.
But I think it's more of a traditional business model as far as giving you a loan. And I get those offers all the time. We obviously have a business PayPal account, and I get offers all the time for business line of credit and this and that and all that stuff. We haven't used it, obviously. But it's similar, because they obviously, like you said, they have all the transactional history for us for probably 15 years of using PayPal Pro. So, they offer you very advantageous rates and all that stuff. But I didn't look into that thoroughly, but I think it's just more of a traditional loan with interest rates and all that stuff, and you pay monthly. And I don't think they take money from your transactions. They just expect you to pay back, whatever you can.
Yeah. But if you're an e-commerce site that uses Stripe, I would look into it, because it seems to be one of the easiest financing options out there. If it works. Obviously, it was just announced today, so I don't know full details. But Stripe tends to not launch things if they're not very polished either.
Right.
They're a pretty.
I will add the link to a couple of articles that I think we read about this announcement when we do the show notes at the end of the show. So, all right, the next topic I wanted to discuss, and this is kind of interesting because this was announced a while ago from Facebook as far as Facebook dating, and they announced that it was coming in the, what was the name of the Facebook conference? Is it Facebook
F8?
Okay. It's always F8?
Yes.
Okay. I was kind of wondering if I was just F8, F9, F10.
No, it's F8.
It's always F8. Okay. And what was the name from?
I don't remember. I Googled it. I don't remember. I
thought it was like the function key or something. I don't know what the F8 does on your keyboard. But anyways, whatever it is for, they announced that they were coming with their potential dating application or dating program or something. And it was kind of like a little surprised, because at that point they were going through a lot of privacy issues and all that stuff. It's like, oh boy, now they're getting into dating and all that stuff. So, but apparently now they are launching that in the US, and they are also adding an Instagram integration, which I think you and I were also talking that Instagram is probably more of a preferred or more appropriate platform for dating than actually Facebook.
We were discussing this before the show, and you had to abruptly stop me because I started going on a rant.
Yeah.
And you said, save it for the podcast. So now I'm going to give my opinion.
Yeah, and save my time too, because I don't want to listen to the same thing twice.
Okay, well, now you're going to have to listen to it. I don't have a problem with Facebook doing a dating. I mean, first of all, I think that a lot of people are going to have the trust barrier is going to be a little difficult to get over for a lot of people for dating. But fine, if they want to have the Facebook platform, have its own dating service, fine. Where I think they're making a mistake is connecting Instagram and Facebook together into one thing. And this has been a recurring event for Facebook. They really, really, really want to get Facebook and Instagram as close together as possible. They even did the stupid thing recently where now it says Instagram by Facebook.
Yeah.
And I think that's the wrong move, because Instagram in the social media world is still, quote unquote, I guess you could say, cool. You know, it's still young people all use it. Everybody uses it.
But it's amazing how many people still don't know that Facebook owns Instagram.
I think most people know at this point.
They're starting to know, but Joe average out there, or Jane average teenager, whatever, the ones that left Facebook because they don't think it was cool anymore, they're on Instagram and they don't know.
Well, because you have to sign up with Facebook when you sign up for Instagram. But anyways, that's besides the point. People don't necessarily associate Instagram as much with Facebook, even though it's owned by it. And they're trying to add that association. And I just think that's the wrong move. I think that you have this cash cow platform in Instagram that is kind of the golden child of social media right now. And I wouldn't want to screw that up. And I think Instagram is actually the better platform for dating if you're going to do that. But make an Instagram dating app, or however you want to integrate it. Don't combine the two. That's the mistake I think they're making. They're always trying to combine the two. And I think let Instagram be Instagram. And yes, on the back end, advertising, all of that can be connected. That's fine. But on the front end, keep them separate, because you're kind of tainting the Instagram name with Facebook. Because at this point,
they've been
a lot of people don't like Facebook and have left Facebook. There was the whole delete Facebook push and all that. You know, I think it's a mistake.
Now, how does this app work? I'm not sure you know the details. I remember when they first announced it, and I actually wrote about it, but I forgot how it works. It's not exactly like a dating app, like you see pictures of faces and you select people or whatever.
They have a few unique features I saw because I looked over it briefly, and so they have a thing where you can add a secret crush, quote unquote.
Exactly.
And so if you have obviously a bunch of followers or people on Facebook who you're friends with, and you have a crush on some of them, okay, well you can add them as your secret crush. So it's a little different than like a Tinder or whatever, where you're just swiping left and right. It's obviously going to try to match you with maybe people
I think
in
it
your
was
friend
that
group.
if you on your personal profile have like 2, 3, 4 people, guys, girls, whatever, that you say they are your secret crush, and then they themselves point you also as their secret crush, then
Yeah.
Facebook will make the connection.
Exactly.
Not if only one party says that the other person was the
Right,
secret
exactly.
crush, because if obviously there's a mismatch there. But so they keep that kind of privacy, but they say that if 2 people have a secret crush on each other, so to speak, then Facebook will be the matchmaker saying,
Right.
hey, we know this from this, know this from this other person, you guys should connect.
So that's kind of unique.
And obviously you need to opt in for that too. Yeah.
Right. That's kind of the unique feature that they have, because on Tinder and Bumble and whatever other platforms you use, it's mostly just people you don't know.
Yeah, and then they don't reply to you, whatever, just... But it's also a risk if the data gets hacked or something, and all of a sudden
Right.
it's revealed that you
That's
had
the
a
other
secret
thing.
crush on a person.
And I
then-
don't know what their privacy guidelines are going to be as it relates to advertising, because that definitely, you're getting a lot of, if you're a flowers company, I would definitely love to see that data on who's matching up this. Oh, you two match up as a secret crush. How about this, right? Like if I sell flowers or chocolates or one of these things, I would be targeting people who recently got matched with a certain crush, a secret crush, and say, hey, send them flowers and here's your 20% off discount code, stuff like that.
So you think that would be like an option within the
I don't know,
Facebook
but
business ad platform?
My business advertiser mind, because I'm dealing with ads all day, that's something I would be interested in. Now, on the user side, I don't think users would be interested in that.
Well, I mean,
necessarily.
Facebook doesn't do anything unless they think they don't think they're gonna get money out of it. So
Right,
if they modify their platform to add this new feature, it's because they have some intent behind it. And,
Well,
they're
it
not
also
doing
could
it
just
as
be because they're so big that it could just be trying to entrench people more into Facebook than they already are, or entrench people more into Instagram. Because instead of going to another app for dating, you can go to Instagram for everything, not just friendships, but dating as well. Which, by the way, Instagram is already a dating app. People DM each other all the time. So now they're just making a better system for that, really.
Yeah, more consolidated with. Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, people that are in the dating scene or whatever are looking for a significant other. If they say, okay, this is just my secret crush, and then who knows? I mean, that person might be single, married, whatever. I mean, you start putting people that are your secret crush, and then.
Well, obviously, if you're in a relationship, you don't opt into the platform.
That's what you say.
Well, I'm saying that as, if you're looking to cheat, that's a different story. That's your problem. But if you don't join the platform, if you're not looking to date anybody, you know what I mean?
No, I understand, but a lot of people will say, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know people that say, I have a secret crush on this actor, actress, famous person, whatever.
Okay, well, that's different.
Yeah, it's different,
You
but
can have a
it's-
secret crush on some actress. That doesn't mean you're going to date them. This is a dating app.
Right.
It's
No,
meant
I
to
understand.
create
But you can have a
relationships.
secret crush on some coworker or some person like that, and that person might be married or something, but then you just have it. I mean, you respect it, but you put it as that, and then you don't know what's going to happen in the future. So it's just a little bit of a tricky thing as far as privacy, and with all this,
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that I
Concerns
don't know
about
how much people
privacy.
are going to trust Facebook, because their trust is at probably an all-time low. But I don't know.
Yeah, but all this is like the dating apps. I mean, which one was the one that was hacked? Wasn't Tinder? It was there was another one that a while ago got hacked, and everybody was.
I'm not sure.
There were a bunch of people there. I forgot. Oh shoot! It'll come back to me. Anyways, we'll come back to it. So, when is this? When is this going? I mean, it says that Facebook is launching, but is this immediate or?
I'm assuming it's pretty soon. They announced it a while back, so I assume this is the launch announcement. I don't know if it's live right now, but I'm sure within a few days it's probably
So
gonna be live.
we will see something on the Facebook, homepage or platform or that says start selecting your secret crush?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, but
All right. Okay. Well, I'm actually very curious about this other social media boom that we're hearing now with TikTok. And I need to admit that I don't know much about it. By much, I mean almost anything about it. I mean, I've seen some videos and some samples of TikTok. I know a little bit of where it comes from and all that. But as far as from the user experience, I have no idea of what it does or why it's becoming so big and viral almost so quickly, Well, especially when we have already, this is not the infancy of social media platforms. I mean, we have the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Twitters, the YouTubes, and all that stuff that are pretty well established already. And then now TikTok comes out of nowhere in my mind. And even though I know it comes from China, blah, blah, blah. But it's becoming like a pretty popular thing. And again, with younger people. So
there's a surprising amount of older people on it too. I would say it's definitely a younger audience, but there's a lot of older people on it too, more than I expected when I was looking at the numbers.
Obviously, you know more about it than I do. So let's start by defining a little bit what is TikTok as far as the platform, how it works.
Yeah, so I don't use TikTok personally. I don't need another social platform. I waste too much time on like Twitter as it is, so I don't need another platform. But I will say TikTok is a bit addicting. I downloaded it just because obviously I wanted to know what it was a few months ago when it started exploding. And the best description I can give is if it's kind of a mixture of Vine and Instagram. I think it's probably the closest example. It's only video. It's no pictures. I guess you could call it maybe like Instagram stories plus Vine. I'm sure most people know what Vine is, but if you don't remember Vine, it was the 6-second video app that got bought by Twitter, but then went out of business. That's the closest. It's kind of a unique platform. They have some unique features, but basically the story behind them, the unique feature is what they acquired. So there's a company called Musical.ly, which got acquired by... Well, let me back up a second. There's the Chinese company. It's called ByteDance, BYTE Dance. Mm-hmm. That's the Chinese company. That one is massive, okay, in China. It is, I don't want to say it's the biggest social media platform, but I think it's up there. It's
is one that available for Western countries too?
No, that's the Chinese version.
It's just China, okay.
And basically, this company, Chinese company, bought Musical.ly, which was an American social media platform.
Similar to ByteDance.
Yes, it was similar. The thing that Musical.ly did is, as it kind of says in its name, it was about music. And so it had this very unique lip-syncing feature where you could lip-sync to songs and a few other things. But basically, that was kind of the idea. And so if you download TikTok... It says at the bottom, like, if someone's using an original sound, so if it's just like them talking or something, or it'll say if it's a song, it'll have the track name at the bottom, right? And so that's kind of how it started. But now it's morphed into all types of stuff, memes and other stuff. But that's how it started with Musical.ly. And so basically, ByteDance bought Musical.ly and then turned it into TikTok. So they acquired all their users and... they've added more features, just like every other platform. They have filters and all types of stuff too now. But basically, over the past year, I would say, it's started really over the past 6 months. I mean, it has absolutely exploded. They have, I think TikTok just passed 1 billion users worldwide, which is crazy. I mean, it's one of the largest social media platforms out there. It's already bigger than Twitter, bigger than Snapchat. It's basically one of the largest social media platforms in the world already. And most people still don't even know about it, which is the crazy part. Mm-hmm. But the downside of TikTok that we were discussing, and I downloaded TikTok, but I've never created a TikTok or uploaded anything because I didn't want to give it access to my photos or my location or anything like that, which it asks you for, because it is owned by a Chinese company, and ByteDance is basically a Chinese Communist Party proxy. I mean, I think we were listening to Jason Calacanis the other day, and he said that they actually have the Chinese government has an office
mm-hmm. Yeah,
in the ByteDance headquarters.
Right.
And basically...
Well, not just there. I mean, the Chinese government monitors every type of platform or anything in China. So they have a government representative in their office monitoring all the activities, and obviously they capture the data.
And they're capturing all of that data. So we don't know what they're doing with all the data.
It's a Trojan horse.
But I don't want to give all my data to a Chinese company that I have no idea
I mean, I don't know
about.
how many Americans are TikTok users.
I think I looked at the numbers. I think it's about 80 million.
So imagine
US.
the Chinese government now having data on 80 million American users.
Mostly young people.
Mostly young with their with all their habits, all their information, all their personal access to their phones.
And the key thing that they've done that was really smart was they have a share to Snapchat feature that's on the page. So it literally has the little Snapchat icon. And so you have to go and connect your Snapchat to the app. So now they're getting all the Snapchat users to connect to TikTok. It's really smart on their end, but also very devious. And that's how it's spreading so much, because the way I heard about TikTok was through Twitter, not through TikTok, obviously. But I kept seeing people posting TikToks on Twitter, like sharing them. Oh, look at this funny video. And I think that's how most people found it.
So TikTok doesn't have any restrictions like Snapchat, that video, or the image disappears once you click on it,
No.
24 hours
There's
like
no
a story.
messaging. There's no messaging.
Nothing. It's
No.
just basically completely interactive, and as far as allowing people or other users to interact with it.
It's basically, it's very similar. If people remember Vine, I don't know how many people used Vine. It was also similar. It was mostly younger people, but it's very similar to Vine, except it's not 6 seconds. It's 60 seconds, I think, is the limit on the videos. But
I've read that it also, like, if I get a video of somebody singing or something, I can also add myself to the video.
Yes, they have this feature called duets.
Yeah, right.
It's just basically you can have two people in one thing. You can have multiple people in one video.
Right.
Yeah. You can reply to a video with your own video, basically.
Right. It's crazy stuff. So what about...
I want to be clear. The platform itself, as far as the features it has, it's cool. Like I said, it's addicting. When I downloaded it, I literally spent like 45 minutes like nothing. You know, I think most people have had that experience on any social platform. And TikTok is just another one of those. And it was mostly just a lot of like funny, stupid videos, stuff like that.
But let me ask you, as far as the monetizing part, do they have advertising?
Yes. They're slowly adding advertising. There's not too much. I'd say it's like 1 in 10 or less videos has an ad. But yes, they're
what advertisers did you see there?
Oh, big advertisers. Ralph Lauren just started advertising there. I can't think off the top of my head, but major companies are advertising there.
Okay, so it's becoming obviously a big advertising.
If you're going after the 30 and under audience, the Gen Z, or even younger, that's the platform right now. It's everybody under 25, it seems like, is on TikTok right now. And the ad rates are relatively cheap because there's not a ton of advertisers on there, so the CPMs are a lot lower than a Facebook or an Instagram.
Right.
So there's kind of an arbitrage right now. And the thing that's very interesting about TikTok is their algorithm. That it promotes, you can have like no followers, and all of a sudden, if you just get a few people, there's what's called the For You page. It's kind of like the home page if you go to Instagram or Facebook, but it's not people you follow. There's two pages. There's your following page and your For You page. And the For You page is just the algorithm saying, okay, these are popular videos. We might think you like this based on what you watch. And so when you go to the For You page, so if you upload right now and you downloaded your account and you have no followers, nothing, it's a brand new account, all you need is if you send it to a couple people and then they share it, right? Literally, like it takes like 3-4 people. Then maybe you pop on someone's For You page because they say this person might like this content. Because I've gotten stuff on my For You page that has like 2 likes and no views or very few views. Like almost nobody's looking at it. But their algorithm is suggesting it. So if I happen to like it, then it'll start suggesting on more people. So all of a sudden you have people with no followers, no nothing, just average Joes getting literally millions of views on their videos.
Right, yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. That people say, I just posted a video, I got 60,000 views in no time. And
not just that. Like stupid videos of their cat and it gets 4 million views in 2
Famous
days.
cat videos, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's almost like the YouTube algorithm, because the YouTube algorithm will do that similarly, but on steroids. I mean, it is crazy. And that's why there's a little bit of an arbitrage on the marketing front, where if you can get a viral product video to go, you can get 1 million views in a day for nothing, for free.
So it's obviously a mobile-only type app, kind of like Instagram started.
Yeah.
And you record only videos, no pictures, right? It's only videos.
Only videos.
That you can do on your phone. It could be with you talking or just a video, whatever. And then you just post them.
Yeah. And the other thing that's already happening, as expected, is influencer videos.
Right.
Which seem to be very successful on TikTok. Because it's like a 60-second demo video, but it's with an influencer. And they seem to work really well. So, again, to me, the only problem I have with TikTok, I don't care. I'm platform agnostic. I don't care if you like Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. They're just social media platforms at the end of the day. I wouldn't have a problem if it was an American company. But my problem is that it's literally a Chinese government proxy, and they're stealing all of the data, and I don't know what they're doing with it.
Well, but that's the thing. I mean, with all this privacy and issues that we've had, like Huawei and other stuff.
I think the
being
truth is
that
people don't care.
Well, I'm not
Or
talking about
don't
people.
know.
I'm talking about the government. I mean, Google cannot get into China. Facebook cannot get
but
into these countries.
What's the U.S. government going to do? If they break the law, if they do something that's illegal, fine. But there's nothing illegal about collecting data. Everybody does it. So TikTok hasn't broken the law. It's just that we don't know what the Chinese government is doing with all that data. That's the thing. But TikTok hasn't broken the law, because if they do something to TikTok, then they'd have to do something.
Broken the law, but they should probably indicate. And I have not seen how the sign-up page is, but say, hey, this is a Chinese app or owned app, and your information will be going to a Chinese server. I mean,
well, I don't know how.
Everybody knows that Facebook is an American company, so is Twitter and this and that. They have their own
TikTok
conflicts,
has offices in the U.S. First of all, they have American employees. I don't know where the servers are all located. I'm sure they have U.S. servers, because obviously they need the speed. But those servers all, at the end of the day, connect back and feed data back to China.
Yeah.
But, the U.S. is a free market. So if you're not breaking the law, you're allowed to do these things. It doesn't matter if you're Russian or... FaceApp was Russian, and everybody downloaded it and then freaked out because they found out it was a Russian company. That was a big thing for a week.
Changing topics with the FaceApp, isn't there another one that is called Deepfake? Where
this is new,
that
too.
was another
Zao,
new one.
Z-A-O.
Yeah,
it's another Chinese app.
I know.
And it is...
They're like totally invading.
It's crazy.
That one is amazing.
I was actually... I forget who. There was a reporter I follow on Twitter. I think... I don't want to misattribute it, but basically there's a reporter I follow on Twitter who it reports only on China. And they said that this app called Zao blew up like you've never... Like, he said that... I don't know if this is accurate, but it was something crazy. Like, it got 500 million downloads in a week.
Yeah.
Like, something crazy.
Yeah.
And it's literally an app that lets you do deepfakes. So basically, you can put your face on Leonardo DiCaprio.
Right.
It looks perfect.
You can put yourself into any movie.
Yeah.
Like you said, Leonardo DiCaprio in
Titanic
or whatever, or singing or something.
Anything.
And it's like a real fake.
And it's real. Like, if you didn't know the movie, you would think that was the actor.
Star. Yeah.
So... It's crazy, and it's blown up like nothing I've ever seen.
And of course,
before.
you need to give access also
now,
to
it hasn't
photos and
expanded to the U.S. yet, but I'm sure it will. Deepfakes is another thing that is a whole different conversation, but I really don't know what the answer is to that, because you could say, okay, it's if it worst comes to worst, you could say, okay, it's illegal to do deepfakes, but isn't that impeding on freedom of speech? Because really, deepfakes are just... Because a lot of people just use deepfakes for comedy and stuff like that.
Well, but you are impersonating another person.
Right, but if you...
there's deepfakes with podcasts and videos and everything that we've seen, and you can even tell that is fake.
Where's the line? Because Snapchat has had this for years. Snapchat, 3 or 4 years ago, had the basically face swap. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that was kind of cheesy looking. You could tell.
Okay, it was cheesy. It wasn't great because it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But the technology has advanced a lot now to where it's the same principle. It just looks better.
Yeah, there's things that could be... You could do that, but it was comical and it was humorous.
That's my point. So where's the
when
line
you do a
between
deepfake, you're
parody...
trying to do something fake
Okay,
with the
that's what I'm
intent
saying.
of misleading people.
That's what
And
I'm
there's
saying.
a lot of YouTube videos that we know that are pretending to be a situation in a serious political environment or
Okay,
something
so let me ask you.
that is not real.
What do you define as a deep fake? Because a deep fake is just basically if you add your face, or I guess you could add other body
Well,
parts.
not
but-
just his face. It could be your speech. It could be
right.
your voice.
Okay, but what if you post it as a joke on Instagram? Oh, this is me as Donald Trump or something.
Well, I mean, you do
and
it as
then
a
the government
joke,
comes
and you
after.
establish.
But where's the line? Do you have to say, like, if you post one, do you have to explicitly say when you post it, this is not me, or something like that?
Well, I mean, yeah. What's the difference between SNL impersonating Obama or Bush or Clinton or whatever, or deep fake video? I mean, one of that you can tell that it's in an environment that is a comical thing,
Right,
humorous.
so a lot of people, there's Instagram accounts that are very popular that literally are just deep fake accounts, and they just make comedy videos putting someone's face on Donald Trump or Obama or something like that and making them say things that they're not saying, things like that. And they're popular, and it's just comedy. There's no malicious intent. They're not trying to fool anybody. It's just comedy. But where's the line? Do you have to explicitly say when you post, hey, this is a deep fake, here's the joke? Or, like, where's the line there? Because obviously...
I remember when it was Tina Fey and Sarah Palin in the elections. And
yeah,
some
and
people,
Tina Fey
some
looked
people,
just like Sarah Palin.
I know. And some people couldn't even tell the difference between one and the other. And they ended up just thinking that Tina Fey was actually Sarah Palin.
Well, that's
So-
like the famous thing.
But, yeah.
Remember, what did she say? I can see Russia from my house or something
No,
like that?
from my
From my backyard or something like that. She never said that. Sarah Palin never said that. And everybody thought she said it, but it was actually from an SNL skit with Tina
Right,
Fey.
right.
But everybody thinks
Attributed the
that
line to
Sarah
her.
Palin said,
Right,
I
right.
can see Russia from my backyard. She never said that.
Right.
But okay, that's obviously the intent is comedy and entertainment. And there's lots of Instagram accounts and social media posts where the intent is entertainment. They're not trying to fool anybody. But where's the line? What is the legislation going to look like for that? Do you have to put, if you're going to post a deep fake, okay, it's legal, but you have to put in all caps, deep fake, this is a joke.
Yeah, but you get a little bit into the conspiracy theories and all that stuff too when you have like all these documentaries and everything that pretend to have real facts with conspiracies and all that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely a gray area there. But this app actually is another
It's something that's going to have to be
Chinese.
faced, no pun intended, very soon because
It is.
I didn't think the technology would evolve as quickly as it has, but it's already gone. It's already looking very good right now. But you can still kind of tell it's fake, right? Depending. In another 5 years, there's no way you're going to tell.
There's photographic deep fake with affecting. Obviously, they don't care about you or me, but affecting personalities, politicians, actors, actresses, and
Right. I
things
mean,
like that
people have
that
been
are like-
photoshopping things for years
Right,
too.
right.
But the question is, okay, even if it's not perfect now, it looks pretty good. But guess what? In another 5 years, it's going to be perfect.
Impossible
You are
to
not going to
detect.
be able to tell. You are not going to be able to tell. So what's the legislation? I mean, do you need legislation? I'm not someone who loves the legislation, but maybe you do need it in these cases. Because, I mean, imagine, like, okay, let's say this next 2020 election that's coming up. What if all of a sudden you start creating deepfakes of different candidates saying that they did crimes or terrible things, and they say, no, I didn't do that. And now it's like, do you believe the deepfake or do you believe the person?
Right. And they have the sound bites
That's
and the videos
real.
and all that
Or
stuff
what
with
if-
them saying something and
what
they
if
pretend
you-
that it was 10 years ago or things like that.
What if, like, okay, you hate a coworker and you want to get them fired, so you do a deep fake of them doing some, or saying, like, what if you do a deep fake of, screw my boss and talking trash about their boss?
Is that what you do?
Yeah, and then they show it to their boss and it's a deep fake and that person gets fired for it.
Oh, yeah.
These
There's-
are real
there's
things.
Tons of, there's tons
you
of
know?
situations where that could happen. And like you said, technology is becoming so much better now. It's almost like watching any sci-fi movie from 20 years ago.
Oh, of
I mean,
course.
you watch like 2001:
Yeah.
A Space Odyssey, one of my favorite movies of all time. Today, it looks like
Not even that.
It's
That's
freaking
old.
Legos.
I mean, that movie's from the 60s, but even like,
Yeah.
I watch like
Star Wars from the 70s.
The Matrix, which came
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
which was revolutionary at the
Exactly.
time. I saw because they announced the new Matrix that's coming out, the remake, and I was watching clips from the old Matrix. I was like, man, this does not look that good. Like, it looks pretty
Well,
bad.
I know. Well, yeah, exactly.
But
So-
and that movie is not that old. And that was like revolutionary
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
time for effects. But I mean, things
CGI,
evolve
all that stuff.
quickly.
In movies are now 50% CGI. They shoot in a studio with a green screen
More.
Yeah,
I mean, the Marvel movies, the Avengers, that movie is literally every behind the scenes thing I see of it is just a bunch of dudes. It's Tony Stark or Robert Downey Jr. in front of a green screen.
Right,
That's the movie.
right,
Like
right.
they don't have sets anymore. Like no, I mean it's everything's CG. But the point is, yes, these things evolve quickly, and if we're already where we are now, where depending in most cases you can still kind of tell it's a deep fake if you look really closely. But yeah, in 5 years, no way. It's going to be perfect. And there's no way the human eye will be able to tell. So maybe you'll have, now one thing I've seen already is that there's companies and projects that are using algorithms. Just the human eye might not be able to detect it, but AI may be able to detect it and say, this, you throw it through, is this a real clip or not? Is this a real image or not? And then the computer can say, yes, this is a deep fake.
that also exists.
Because all it takes is
with
a couple little pixels off, whatever, and then the algorithm can tell. So I think technology might have to fight technology in that sense. You need more technology to counteract it. But it's like everything. I mean, technology can be used for good
there's
and
also
bad.
forensics for photography stuff that they can tell you the photo has been manipulated and all that stuff.
Right.
I was just gonna make a joke about the Trump hurricane map being manipulated, but I'm gonna skip that one. All right, so final topic. WeWork. I know where WeWork, but I'm talking about the company. So
I don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like there's been a ton of people talking about it already.
I'm very interested. I actually just listened to another podcast and they were talking about it, especially about the CEO. And I mean, WeWork is basically space.
They innovated on the how you rent out office space.
Right, this office
Instead
space.
of renting a floor or renting certain rooms, they still offer rooms and stuff, but you can rent a desk. That was their innovation, so that they could fit more. Basically, they increased the dollars per square foot of revenue for their company.
It's office sharing type thing.
Yes, that was their main innovation, and it's good. It's a good business. I mean, it's a decent business, I should say. Their margins are not great, but they burn cash like every startup these days.
But they don't own the real estate.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It depends. Okay. But one of the things was the founder, Adam Newman, was buying real estate and then renting it to the company, which is okay. I don't know if it's illegal, but it's not.
It's not very clean.
Yeah, and then they
commingling basically.
They changed the name of the company from WeWork to We, and he happened to own the trademark on We, so they paid $6 million to buy the trademark from him. All types of shady stuff like that. But even forget the shady stuff that the CEO has done, because that's been talked to death. I think the thing that's not been talked about enough is that their margins suck. And
well, first of all, they're going to go public, or they're attempting
so
to
I'm
go
getting
public.
to that. Their last round of funding, they raised at a $47 billion valuation. This is a company that does not make money. And not just doesn't make money, but loses
money.
money.
Isn't that the trend lately? Like companies go public when they don't make
but
money.
At least
I mean, you have Uber losing $1 billion a quarter, and they go public.
The difference with other
Lyft.
companies is at least there's some path towards profitability. In WeWork's case, I don't really know because their gross margins, which is like in any business, gross margins is king. Okay, why are SaaS businesses so popular? Because they have 90+% gross margins. WeWork has like 10% gross margins, 15%.
Where's the
really
biggest expenses? The overhead, the actual office space.
Yeah. But not only that, I mean, they have free food, free. I think they limited the beers, but they used to have like unlimited beer.
Obviously, all the office space, like
unlimited
the Wi-Fi and all that stuff is free too.
All that stuff. I mean, Wi-Fi is not an expense. I mean, it's very cheap, but stuff like that.
On hotels.
Yeah, they're not like a hotel that charges you $30 a night for Wi-Fi. But their gross margins are really low, and their valuation was $47 billion at their last private round. And now they're going public, and they said that they'll probably go public at around $20 billion. Less than half of their previous valuation.
What happened there? I mean, the valuation is...
Basically, the public market said, not only do you guys lose a ton of money, your gross margins suck, so it doesn't even look like you're going to make money in the future.
So
we're not investing.
So much for those investors waiting to go public to
Yeah.
recover their investment.
Well,
They're already starting in the red.
I mean, it's really like it's really like who's holding the bag last. That's the game. The early investors, when you invested at a $50 million, $100 million valuation, you'll run into the bank right now. But the SoftBank, who just invested tons of money in them at a huge valuation, they're losing. I mean, I don't care because it's the Saudi Arabian murderer prince's money, so I don't care that they're losing. But yes, they're losing money right now. And the difference between them and Uber, and I've talked poorly about Uber in the past too, just because I think that they have a problem of competition, not of margins. Their margins are actually pretty good, and they could maybe raise prices. The problem is that if they raise,
I don't know.
at some point they're gonna have to.
They're already becoming very competitive, as meaning like comparable with other similar services, be it taxis or limousines, shuttles and things like that in some major cities. Like I was just in San Francisco, and Uber there is not cheap. And,
well, that's because of the massive demand. That's the thing.
exactly, because it's demand driven, and the rates are based on demand, and there's a lot of demand. Then you end up saying, "Well, this is Uber." And
what I'm saying is, them and Lyft are the same boat. They lose money right now. They're gonna have to raise prices eventually, but neither one wants to be first. But that's not gonna last forever. They're gonna have to, and it does. But they don't have to raise prices a lot, right? If they raise prices by 10%. They could make money.
They need to also decrease the hemorrhage of money that they have with legal fees and everything, defending themselves in every single state.
They were spending a ton of money developing their self-driving cars, which they've kind of, they stopped for a while after they killed a person, and then they've been kind of slowly ramping it back up. I'm not sure how much they're spending now, but that is a major expense for them. But obviously that's a research and development. The goal is to create self-driving tech so that they don't need drivers anymore.
But they're still having a lot of issues in major cities to establish themselves, and they had to give in, and they had to...
Well, internationally it's been tough. They gave up in India. They're not in India. They gave up in China. They ended up getting equity. I forget the name of the company in China, but basically the Uber of China, they own a percentage of the company, but they said we're not going to compete. So... internationally it's been tough for them, but even in the US and Europe, they're if you look at their margins, they're profitable. They should be, but their gross margins, I should say. But first of all, Lyft does this even more. Lyft, I get coupons every week, like, hey, here's a $10 credit for Lyft. Here, they just want you to keep using their service. At some point, both companies are going to have to raise their prices.
Uber has a loyalty program too, where you gain points with every ride. And then just like any other point system, then you accumulate points and then you have a free ride. So they're trying to get more customer loyalty and customers to use their system and incentivize them to keep using it on a consistent basis. So
the thing that Uber, the two businesses that I'm interested in for Uber too, they're getting into scooters now. But in business I'm more interested in, or the two I should say, is one, Uber Eats. And then two, one that very few people talk about that I actually think could be massive is Uber Freight.
Uber Freight is supposed to be massive.
Because on the consumer side, people are just looking for a cheap ride. On the commercial side, they're looking for consistency, reliability, and scalability, which is something that Uber can offer. And I think that could be a potentially massive business for them that they're not currently exploring.
But it's funny because
not massively exploring.
You see how back in the days, how Walmart started. They actually started by filling up trucks that were delivering goods from one city to another, and they were returning to the initial city empty. And then Walmart capitalized on that and started saying, okay, we're going to take advantage of all these transportation or trucks that are returning empty and start putting our goods there to bring them to different warehouses around the country. So Uber Freight is a similar concept where they have trucks and semis and all that stuff, 18 wheelers and all that you can add your merchandise to them. And
not just the trucks. The trucks is one part, but the trucks is interesting because one of the problems, people don't know this, but I read up a lot on trucking because I was really interested in that business, just because I think that there's a lot of innovation left to be had in the shipping business. and in the transportation business. And most truckers, or a lot of truckers, are actually not employees of some big company. They're independent.
They're contractors.
They're either contractors or they have their own little mini LLC, Joe's Trucking LLC, and it's just a one-person company.
Right.
But they're actually contractors. And so they work for Swift and Walmart Trucking and a bunch of different
FedEx
ones.
Ground has contractors.
Right. And so what's interesting to them, one of their challenges, if you're a truck driver, is finding routes all the time. Just like an Uber driver is kind of waiting around for a customer, those guys do the same thing. A lot of times they're kind of stranded, stuck, waiting for certain routes. Uber is basically trying to bring the Uber app to truck drivers, saying, okay, if you're a truck driver, there's John in California who needs to get this to Washington. Okay, go bring your truck down there, get the stuff, and go. And they pay you.
And the other thing I'm thinking way down the road is that one of the issues that is preventing Uber and Lyft and all these companies from being more profitable is the fact that they have drivers. I mean, they've already said.
But they can be profitable
they said
with
already.
drivers.
Yeah, but they said already that they were meant to be with self-driving cars, and that's when the profit will really happen. Now, think about this.
I'm not denying that, but they can make money with drivers.
Yeah, no, of course they can at least break even. That would be a good first step. But think about this. There's a bigger chance of having self-driving trucks than self-driving cars. At least the trucks will come sooner. They're already using them in some European countries. They go on highways. They only have the drivers for what they call the last mile, the last 20 miles or whatever.
Right,
But
exit to
freeways,
exit, as they say.
Right. As far as freeways and the highways and all that stuff, the trucks can drive themselves. They're going straight line. They don't do anything. So I think Uber Freight, if, again, years ahead, they don't have drivers and they only have drivers at the end, that will be even more profitable.
So there's a pro and con to the self-driving. And I agree. Eventually, yes, it will be self-driving for most ride-sharing things. The difference is that you have to own the cars if you're a self-driving company. Because obviously, right now, Uber doesn't own any cars. They just pay the drivers. They're going to have to buy massive fleets of trucks and cars. And that's a major capital expense that I think a lot of people don't account for when they say, oh, yeah, it's just going to be all self-driving. If you want to replace all the Ubers on the road right now, say the technology was there and the legislation was there, do you know how much money it would cost to replace all the Ubers on the road with self-driving cars that now Uber must own? A lot. Way, way, way more than they could afford. So I think that's much further away than we think. And I'm a big self-driving advocate, but I think it's much further away than we think as far as having just fleets of self-driving trucks and self-driving cars for pickup.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow, but I think as far as legislation, it'll be very hard to approve legislation for self-driving cars in major metro areas. There's a lot of complications, as we know, that we discussed in previous podcasts with the traffic and everything else, whereas on highways, you can delineate a certain lane or something that is for self-driving trucks or vehicles, and then they can just go there, and they can save quite a bit. And then the trucks are... I mean, yeah, it's not like you come up with a fleet of self-driving trucks right away, but I mean, we know Tesla is coming with their own, and in Europe, they already have all the bigger truck manufacturers already testing them. They have, I mean, you can go into YouTube and see videos with a freight train of trucks following each other, and they are doing serious tests. I mean, Volvo, Merck, I mean, all these companies are already Mac. I think it's Mac.
Yeah, but those companies are still far away.
They're far away, but they're already
If
testing
anybody does it first, it'll probably be Tesla, and even Tesla is not as close as Elon Musk says they are.
Well, yeah, that's always the case.
But as far as the Uber Freight goes, back to the economics, the other thing that they can offer that is very valuable is the problem that many shipping companies and logistics companies are trying to solve, which is the last mile. Uber already has a fleet of drivers. And so when you're shipping things, right, the last mile is basically, okay, say you buy something and it's in a warehouse in Florida and it comes to Texas and then we're in Arizona, so then it comes to Arizona. Okay, that's pretty much taken care of. You have FedEx, UPS, big companies for that. But then once it gets to Phoenix, then it needs to get either on a UPS truck or something to your house. But that's very expensive. Uber could solve that because they have Uber drivers. So if they say, hey, go pick up this package here or 10 packages here and deliver it to these 10 different houses. That's something that I see a lot of potential for Uber too. So I think Uber has a lot of opportunities, and Lyft too, obviously. Same thing.
Amazon, as we know, is already working on that too. So it's just that last mile is where the profit is already made.
Anyway, sorry, to get back to WeWork, because that's how we started.
So that's
the difference between WeWork and Uber has their problems, and I'm not saying that they're going to succeed. But the difference is, one, Uber was a more innovative product than WeWork. And two, Uber has good gross margins and has a path to profitability. It won't be easy. I'm not saying they will do it, but there is a path. WeWork has really bad gross margins. If your gross margins are 15%, without counting anything else, admin fees, regular just running the company, marketing, that's why they lose so much money. That's why they lose so much money. And they're not going to be able to just rapidly increase their gross margins because then nobody's going to rent their office spaces. Because at the end of the day, real estate is very much a commodity. And so you can't just jack up your price a ton because you're going to be not competitive pricing wise.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I think WeWork's in trouble. Forget about the CEO. Yeah, those are all problems and scandalous things. But the truth is, there's lots of behind-the-scenes stuff that CEOs do all the time. They just don't make headlines. The bigger problem is that the business itself is not a great business. That's the problem. And that's why I think that their
Needless to say, it
valuation's
doesn't
been
seem
cut
like
in
you're going to
half.
be investing on WeWork
No,
anytime soon.
unfortunately not.
All right, David. Anything else that we need to bring up? This kind of became quite long for a short podcast, but any other topics that you'd like to discuss? Are you having a podcast this week?
Yes. I don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, but I will come up with something.
I'll just replay this one. No, just kidding.
There might be some overlap in the topics, but we'll see.
Okay, sounds good. So his is recorded usually on
Fridays,
which is for us is tomorrow on this side of the world. For MGR Unplugged, we'll be back next week, probably with a guest. I'm still working on that. But until then, thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.